All right, well, the top of the morning to you, and welcome to Facebook Live, Captive in San Diego, edition number 6. Hope you guys are well. Hope your family's well. And I hope you're persevering. I hope you haven't been adversely affected physically by this virus. But we know we've all been adversely affected one way or the other. And so that's why we're going to keep pumping out this information to you. And the more I watch and the more I see and the less research I see going on, the more I'm going to keep pumping this stuff out. I have a real fire to bring as good as stuff and good information, as good as perspective as I can bring to our community, especially those serving in the real estate business. And that's why last Tuesday I had the coming rebound with Dave Stevens. Now here's Dave Stevens, the former Associate Secretary of HUD, talking about sitting in meetings with Obama and this and that and the other during the last crisis. But super solid guy, super positive guy. That story's been picked up by a number of news outlets that heard that podcast. Great data, great information. Dave was also the CEO Emeritus, former CEO of the Mortgage Bankers Association, former president of Long & Foster, gets real estate, been in the biz 30 years. And here's a guy who's been at the head of the Housing Commission. He knows the biz, he knows the industry, and the title of the podcast was The Coming Rebound. Listen to it. And you're going to hear today the context of where this information is coming from. This is all not just everything's going to be okay, Pookie, hopeless optimism. You're going to actually find out why that's actually a devastating strategy in today's world. So episode 212, last Tuesday, Dave Stevens, The Coming Rebound. Now, I got to say, I do the broadcast for you guys, and I've also been with a number of different companies, organizations, more and more I'm being drawn into, real-time information, real-time data, real-time dynamics of the market, society, politics, you name it. So I'm watching and researching this stuff all the time, and I got to tell you, I'm getting more and more astounded by the minute of who, what, and where are actually reporting the news. If you watch some of the press conferences that are going on, no offense to anybody, but the average person seems to be 28 years of age and not that long out of college. Now, last week I told a great story of a 28-year-old who did a great service to me and the company. But one of the dynamics when you're reporting news, it helps to have a little bit of historical balance and perspective. And if you're not blessed with long life and the wisdom of years, you need to be blessed with the curiosity and the detective nature of studying history and of studying patterns so you can interpret information. And the reason I say this is such a big deal, I've been watching folks, especially who are chiming in on the real estate business. And again, Mark Cuban's my latest whipping boy. And I like Cuban. I like the Dallas Mavericks. I was there when they won the championship years ago. I think it was 2006. Guy is a billionaire. Congratulations. But he knows jack cheese about real estate. And he's been interviewed on all these channels about real estate and giving people advice. Or I'm watching the real estate community or the different latest reports and news and so on and so forth. And I'm watching some new hotshot young guy that's out there saying that the real estate industry is going to lose 50% of its sales this year. Very emphatic, very positive, polished guy, and he's appearing everywhere. So I start digging into where his sources of research are coming from, and it's from Northern Italy and San Francisco. And out of Northern Italy and San Francisco, he's projecting that the real estate business is going to lose 50% of its sales. It goes on the media, it's a headline, people watch it, people read it, people buy that crap. Because in today's world, nobody seems to ask the next question. Where are you getting that from? So I'm going to keep banging out the best stuff I can find, and that's why I'm going to keep going straight to sources, right to the source, true sources of data, true sources of information. So last night, in preparation for this today, I reached out to my new best friend, Dr. Lawrence Yoon, who had in hand some brand new breaking information. So this is hours old information that hasn't been disseminated anywhere. So I want to give that to you. So I wanted to get that to you. I recorded it last night. It'll be a podcast on Tuesday, and the podcast will be entitled, The Podcast Every Homeowner Needs to Hear. and you will want every homeowner to hear it. And I want to share with you some of the information you'll be hearing, but in greater detail with greater perspective. So thanks to Dr. Yoon and a few other sources we've been leaning into. So first of all, little update. March sales, no shock, we're down 8% over February. February is a record month, the highest month of February in 13 years. So March sales were off that by 8%. Pending home sales for April, which is a true reflection of what's going to happen. So what's in the pipeline? Well, that projection is down 20%. And April will prove to be the depth, the teeth of this whole pandemic. No question about it. And I know second waves and third waves and and all the stuff that's pumped out there. We can get into that if you want. We can get into the data. I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with a gentleman who was one of the chief people in the Clinton White House, who shared. He asked me a question. He goes, "Brian, how many people under the age of 30 have died from the pandemic?" I'm like, "I don't know." He said 100. He said, "How many people under 45? He said 1,000. And the quote that he gave that I found very, very powerful was, "This pandemic is a great big risk to a very small group of people and a very small risk to a great group of people." And that's the data, and those are the facts. What we've done is what we've done, how we've done it. There are states like Wyoming where they've had 7 people die. I live in San Diego County. We have 3.4 million people. 124 people have died. Now, if you happen to be related, my dad's best friend just died. He was in a nursing home in Ireland. I love the guy. He's one of my childhood heroes, and he passed away. He's 86. He had a serious medical condition. He got a mild dose of the virus, and he passed. So when the one person dies, it's terrible. What I will tell you is, you talk about Wyoming, 7 people died, but I will tell you this, all of Wyoming suffering because of a lockdown. So I believe April will prove to be the teeth of this. We'll see moderate coming out in May, and then we're going to get going here pretty soon, and we're going to talk about that. So here is what Dr. Yoon found, and here are some very, very powerful pieces of information. His projection, and again, I want to give you this because this week, 50 major U.S. companies listed on the stock market refused to give guidance for the rest of the year. So they gave their first quarter earnings, but 50 of the largest companies in America said, we won't give guidance for the rest of the year. So I asked Dr. Yoon, I said, this is kind of unfair. I'm asking you to give guidance to the real estate industry for the rest of the year when all these bazillion-dollar CFOs won't do it. He took it on, and I said, take it, give me your best guesstimate if that's what you have. He said, I don't have to guess. I have the data. I have the facts. He also did microanalysis of what specifically happened in Louisiana following Katrina, in New York following 9/11, and then project those things out in regards to the current data of supply and demand, in regards to what's happening in the marketplace. Fantastic information. Here's Dr. Yoon's best guess. That's my word. I call it a best guess. He kind of chastised me for it. He ain't guessing at all. So it's 10 to 15%. So he expects a 10 to 15% drop-off in the projected number of sales for the year. It was supposed to be 5.4, 5.5 million sales. Here's the thing, boys and girls. We hit the pause button for 2 months in the real estate industry, basically on society. Real estate is basically picking back up where it's left off as this thing progresses. And we're going to talk about it. It won't be in a straight line. It won't be linear. The next thing he projects is that prices. So this is a big deal. Mark Cuban said, if you're in a transaction and you're already in escrow, drop your price 30%. Okay? Well, here's what Dr. Yoon said. He said prices will actually increase 1 to 2% by the end of the year. Okay? Now, by the way, last year was a record increase. So to increase over the record, still pretty stable. People's homes are very stable. Home prices are very stable. Now, I said to him, well, give me a little, if I'm going to get this much out of you, give me more. You told me what's going to happen for 2020. Where do you feel, where's your data? Where are your data points for 2021? He projects a 15% increase in sales with a 3.3 to 5% increase in prices, which means the fourth quarter of this year is the time to slingshot to make sure we're rocking and rolling for 2021. All good news to me, all solid news to me. And the best part about it is we got into data about, okay, the U.S. government's printing trillions and trillions of dollars. You don't just print money without consequence. Where's that all going? Now, because the US dollar is always the favorite currency in the world, the US dollar is held up right now. And that's why the rates are good and we're not having inflation. But it is apparent at some point in time we'll have inflation. What's the single greatest hedge against inflation? An asset. What's the single greatest asset to have against inflation? A home, a piece of real estate. So picture the scene for your buyers. This is why this is the podcast that you need to send to all of your homeowners and to all of your prospects. And here's why. When inflation comes, people can lock down a 3.4% interest rate. Inflation comes, the price of the home goes up and up and up. The price stays the same and the value and the price increases for the people who own the home. Let me tell you, boys and girls, when you listen to this, you're going to go, this all makes sense, it's all practical, and it's all going to happen. So buying and selling a home in the next couple of years, a critical deal to do for people to hedge against the coming inflation, which must happen, because the governments have taken the action they feel they needed to take. Tip the cap, fair enough. Printed money, gave people money that were out of work. 30 million people have filed unemployment. Not fun. Very difficult. Almost $750 billion in small business loans to keep businesses open and give those businesses payroll rather than just giving people more unemployment checks. Tip the cap, that all makes sense. But all those things have consequences. Inflation is one of the consequences in the future, not next month, probably not even next year. But owning a home and owning real estate will be a great hedge against inflation with a fixed cost of low interest rates. It's going to be a great time to be selling real estate and a great time to be given real-time information and real-time data. The next thing about real-time data, not on Wolf Blitzer, is this. He took a poll of 90,000 realtors. So imagine having that kind of influence. You go all over the country, he does a flash poll, 90,000 realtors able to give your feedback. Okay? Detailing over 1 million customers. And here's what they found. 74% of realtors saw no reduction in list price. Sellers remain calm, no panic selling, no need to offer 30% in escrow, reduction of price. Sellers have stopped open houses at a rate of 71%. A number of companies have actually mandated it altogether. And that makes sense, right? People are not doing open houses. 55% of sellers, listen, are delaying the process just a couple months. That's all. It's just put pause. Spring is going to happen in summer. That's basically what's going to happen. 44% of buyers have delayed the process a couple months. The reason that's the case, buyers look first. Buyers are still looking online. Buyers are still going through Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, and maybe your company has a platform as well. And so here's the dynamic. Buyers are still looking. There's not as many sellers. Guess what? Tighter home restrictions. We have an even higher housing shortage now than we did 60 days ago. Guess what? Supply and demand. 27% of agents were able to complete transactions respecting social distancing using e-signatures, virtual tours, messaging apps, and exterior-only appraisals. And we talked about that a little bit on a couple of our banking interviews, one with Michael DeVito. Next, what tech tools are people using with buyers and their e-signatures? Social media, virtual tours, and messaging apps. So listen, next Tuesday, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the 5-circle fit and some of you being a little overzealous with regards to trying to get your podcast too early. We released the 5-circle fit on a Friday. It was initially set up to be Mondays, and the podcast comes out on Tuesday. Some of you are very keen, and you're grinding on your coach and your salesperson or your client care specialist Buffini company. Can I get the podcast right away? And the answer is no. So you have to wait a couple days, okay? So chill out. Next Tuesday, it will be the podcast that every homeowner needs to hear. My encouragement to you, listen, learn, know the data, and then send it to everybody in your database. Everyone in your database needs to hear it where the value of their home. Every homeowner is going to feel better about their home. Anyone thinking about buying or selling a home is going to get going and get going quick. And it's very, very powerful. And it's based in actual facts, actual resource, actual micro studies of areas that have gone through what we're now going through as a crisis as a whole country. Very powerful. Great for Canada, great for the US. Next Tuesday, you have a lot of work to do between now and next Tuesday. Okay? So, there you go. Those are the news stories. Let me get into this. Here's what I plan on covering the rest of this Facebook Live. I'm going to do a review of week 1 of the 5-circle fit. Now, I'm amazed, as much as we've been pumping it out there, the amount of questions and comments and social media and emails I got on what's the 5-circle fit. So I guess, and it's fair enough, people miss something. I just want you to know, for the next few weeks, you're going to be able to jump on board the 5-circle fit and catch up to where people are very easily. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 5-circle fit. Tens of thousands of people have jumped on board. Thousands have downloaded the sheets and are doing the workouts and everything else. So I'll talk a little bit about it. We're going to review week 1. Then I'm going to talk about the right attitude. And I'm going to talk specifically about one of the great American heroes, Admiral Stockdale, and how his attitude saved him from 7 years of imprisonment in a Vietnam prisoner of war camp where he was beaten mightily throughout. And I'm going to share with you his attitude and what it's called the right attitude. And it'll expose some of the wrong attitudes that we don't want to fall into, okay? So we'll get into that. And then I'm going to give you a few things about this rolling start and the power of the rolling start, and actually some neat information that's really going to make you understand this rolling start even better, and how very, very powerful it can be to help you win. 2020 can still be in your books as a winning year. The market may go down 10 to 15%. You don't have to go down at all. You can win. You could actually finish up 2020 better than you finished in 2021. Now, I know that seems ridiculous on May 1st when 40 states in the United States are not even considered open, okay? But I promise you, the rolling start is coming. I'm using it personally. Buffini and Company's using it. And we're here for our members. I mean, everybody gets to join in on this Facebook Live, and we're here to provide as much value as we can to people and make them feel well. But we're a membership-driven organization, and we're here to make sure that our members win. And so that's what we're going to do. So, and then I'm going to share with you week 2's 5-circle fit challenge and what's coming up, okay? So, last week, 5-circle fit, I started off with the spiritual piece. And I had you read Psalm 23 every day. I hope that you did. I hope by now, the reason for reading that out loud every day is that you would memorize it. Because I just feel like that is one of the most, it's one of the most sacred and powerful affirmations, documents, scriptures ever written. And, the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He brings me beside still waters. He restores my soul. We all need a little restoration. And then it goes on to say, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Is anything like this virus the valley of the shadow of death? There's a shadow out there. It's not affecting all of us. It's affecting some of us. But the valley is real. And the valley is the economy. The valley is the stay-at-home orders. The valley is all the psychological stuff going on. We're all walking through the valley of the shadow of death. But I will fear no evil because you're with me. Okay? And on and on. So I hope you had a chance to enjoy that. Like I said, I participated in this 5-circle fit exactly the way you are, and it's been a blessing to me. I also gave you a couple things to catch up with some friends. So hopefully maybe you just did it once, maybe you did it twice, maybe you pounded out and you reached out. I had a couple of experiences this week because of the 5-circle fit that I wouldn't have had. I feel compelled, if I'm going to share something with all of you, that I have to do it. I just don't believe in those who can do and those who can't teach model. If I'm going to share this with you, I'm doing it. I've been doing my Rico's reps, only I've been doing them with Rico, with FaceTime, okay? And so when I share these 5 things, I'm going through them with you. I had not watched, I'm going to be honest with you, okay, so here's confession. I had not watched the Pathway to Mastery Essentials course since the day I filmed it. And so this week, I had my assistant Jeanette send me the link to the 5-circle fit, and I watched it. And I actually had the even harder thing is I watched it with my bride. Why'd you say that? But I will tell you, I was like, you know what, this is some great stuff. And I have a terrible time listening to myself or watching myself. I'm on to the next thing. And I was like, this is some of the best stuff I've ever done. And so I watched it with you guys, and I did my own version of those, reaching out to some A+ people in my database, and reached out to some folks and had a chance to connect and interact. And one example would be Mitch Albom. Okay, so he's one of my A+ people, the author of Tuesdays with Maury and whatever else. I did that because of the Essentials plan. And I had a chance to interact with them, and Mitch runs this fantastic orphanage in Haiti, and they were having some challenges, and I had a chance. Okay, one of my spiritual things was to help an organization in need. I got to help that organization out. Just a beautiful experience. A beautiful experience. I thank you guys because I created the 5 Circle Fit for you guys, but now I'm being blessed by doing it myself. And so I know this stuff is working. I feel healthy. I feel good. My mind is good. Because I'm doing the 5 Circle Fit myself. Oh, by the way, Mitch Albom calls me up yesterday. Hey, Brian, I got a great idea. I'd like to do this for your group, and I'd like to give him this, and I have this, and so we're going to maybe do something with him. That wasn't the purpose of why I did it. I just wanted to reach out to him. I wanted to bless him. I wanted to bless the organization where he has these 100 orphans in Haiti, and here it is, and now he wants to do something for all of you. So it's the good stuff, boys and girls. So Essentials, I hope you are doing the Essentials training. I hope on the financial side you had a chance to update your budget. All of our budgets are changing. Unfortunately, we're not spending as much money as we used to. And fortunately, we're not spending as much money as we used to. We need to adjust our budget, know where we are. It also can give you a little comfort right now. So I hope you had a chance to do that. And then my boy Rico. Did you check out Rico? Have you been doing the reps at Rico? I've been getting some great feedback. And we have a brand new Rico's Reps dropping today. And he kind of took it up a level, so it's going to be great. I hope you're enjoying them. And he's still got the 3 levels of entry level and intermediate level and then advanced. And then those you really advanced folks, so you know I do Rico's Reps for an hour. I do it with him. So I do those 3 sets, and I do them 3 times with cardio in between. So if you're really on it, you can really get after it. And then I also asked you to read a little book. And it was Acres of Diamonds. And I bought one. Anna's sitting here. I bought one for every one of my kids in Beverly, and I said, she can attest to this herself. I said this. I go, this is more than any inheritance I'm going to give you. This is more valuable than any money you have a chance to receive from your dad being successful. This right here is a real inheritance. And so I'm going to do for you what I did for them, because they said to me, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the book's about. And I've never really done the Oprah Book Club thing, but I'm going to give you kind of a short little synopsis of Acres of Diamonds. So first of all, I've talked about it in the past, the Ali Hafed story, right? So that's what Acres of Diamonds is known for. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but the bottom line is Ali Hafed, he heard about diamonds. And the quote was, Ali Hafed heard all about diamonds, how much they were worth, and he went to his bed that night a poor man. He woke up that morning rich and contented. He went to bed that night poor and discontent. Why? Because he got caught up in comparison. And what happened? He sold his farm. He went looking for wealth. He went looking to find diamonds. He ended up penniless, broke, eventually threw himself into the sea in Spain. And as the story goes, the farm he sold, the person who bought it, started digging around in the waters there, and they discovered what became the Golconda diamond mines, the single largest, most prolific diamond mine in the world. And so then he goes on to tell example after example after example of people who found wealth right underneath their nose. And the whole quote is, you learn to be successful with where you are, with what you are. Everything you need's right underneath your nose, okay? The other elements of that book that people don't quite get, because it's not a book, it was a speech. He gave this talk over 6,100 times. Now think about this, excuse me, over 100 years ago. He made over $11 million from giving this talk, okay? He was a good public speaker. He used that money to build Temple University, 2 major hospitals, and the largest church in America at that time. They call him the penniless millionaire. The guy was brilliant, and he had a brilliant database of the most successful people in America at the time. Mr. Wanamaker, Mr. Astor, you name all these huge success stories. So he goes on after the Ali Hafed story. This book doesn't end. The next second major thing he gets into, which was a big issue at the time and is still a big issue today in a different way, it's just the spiritual conflict of wealth. Back then, 100 years ago, Christianity and the pervasive philosophy was it was a blessing to be poor, and poverty showed you how devoted you were to God. And so he kind of took that on head first. Now today, somehow in spirituality, it's how much money you have is basically how blessed you are by God. I find both of those philosophies equally flawed. He takes it on. He took it on 150 years ago, and because it's principle-based, he got a chance to really bring home the goods. And so here's one of his quotes. He said, "To make money honestly is to preach the gospel. That is the reason that people who get rich may be the most honest people you can find in any community." And then as he challenged people who challenged him, they talked to him about the love of money and the root of all evil. And he said, no, it's the money is the root of all evil. He goes, the love of money is the root of all evil because it is making an idol of money. Okay? Very powerful. Why? Because you find your identity in it. Those kinds of things. Then the third thing, and this is why this will be recommended reading for everyone at Buffini and Company. Because if I have a legacy at Buffini and Company, it will be to train a bunch of people to think from the customer's perspective and not from their own. And the reason I've been successful, the reason I'm in the big house with the success, is because I know how to think from somebody else's perspective. That is the core business principle in this book. And he actually says it in kind of an incredulous manner. He's like, "Oh, salesman, when are you ever going to learn?" By the way, 150 years ago, this guy was championing women. And he was championing women in business and championing women to invent and create and be entrepreneurs. Very, very unpopular talk at the time. Because he saw the value. He simply said, why would a woman not be successful? That's 50% of all the people in the world. If we only have men be successful, we only have half the success. The guy was brilliant and ahead of his time and principle-based, okay? And so, but he talked about a core business fundamental, finding out what your customer needs. And he said this, if you had cared enough about them to take an interest in their affairs, to find out what they needed, you would have been rich. Then he said this, listen to that. Imagine this is 2020 or this is 1880. He said, you must know the changing needs of humanity if you would succeed in life. We're talking on Facebook today. It's a changing need. Zooms and virtual tours and working from home. What are the changing needs of humanity? How can we understand our customer? How can we think from their perspective and not ours? Very powerful. And then he said this, listen to what they actually want and give them what they actually want. This right here was the foundational principle that helped deliver over a dozen of the largest industrialists and millionaires in America over the next 20 years. That simple little point. This is a 1-hour read. Turn off the TV and read this stuff. These are principles. I shared this little booklet with all of you. I shared it with all of my kids, and I told my kids, this is more valuable than anything else that I can do with my life's work for you. Okay? So that's why I gave it to you. Lastly, he gave his military background, and you want to know that. That's a little bit of his bona fides. And oh, by the way, as an aside, and he talks about his military career, and he doesn't talk about, I was this dashing hero. He talked about, I was an officer, and I got to stand in the back. And by the way, when the guns were turned on me, I was terrified myself. But he got a chance to meet Abraham Lincoln several days before the guy was killed. Okay? And he said this, and people read this book and never see this. Abraham Lincoln, his principle for greatness can be adopted by nearly all. This was his rule. Whatsoever he had to do at all, he put his whole mind into it and held it there until all was done. It's in the book. I'm not going to say it again. Read the book. I read the book. Abraham Lincoln changed his country, changed the world. Over one principle. The principle's in the book. Go read the book. And then lastly, if you actually ever want to do public speaking and presentations, and obviously a lot of people now, we're getting into presentation mode because we're having to use vehicles like this. But as a guy who knows a little bit about public speaking, and I've done several thousand, I'm only a third the way to the 6,100 presentations he gave. But I know my way around a microphone and a presentation. And I'm going to say this. This is the best outline for a talk you'll ever see. And the rhythm to it, and how it's done, how he starts, how he finishes. All the principles of being a great public speaker are in this book. There it is. How did this thing cost? What does it even say? And I can't even see here. What is it? $6? $6. And you get all that. It's a good use of time. Takes an hour. Change your life. Better than watching some yahoo on the TV, okay? Now, Russell Wilson was always challenging people to have the right attitude, and I promised you guys I'd talk about some attitude stuff today, okay? And we need to, there's some tough things out there right now, right? 13.4 million people didn't pay rent in the first week of April. 3.4 million mortgages are in foreclosure, are in forbearance. So 3.4 million mortgages are in forbearance, where they're putting the payment off till the end. So people are feeling the strain. They've gone to their banks, and they're putting it off. 30 million people filed for unemployment, which is 18.6% of the labor force, okay? So, and we've got a lot of stuff going on. I saw this graph. I'm going to hold it up to you here. Hopefully you can see this, and I appreciate it. We don't have all the fancy graphics because this is live, okay? So I'm holding up cardstocks. But this is what I think a lot of people are feeling. The 3 concentric circles. Here's people, let me hold it into here a little bit there. People taking COVID seriously. People worried about the expansion of authoritarian government policies, and people very concerned about impending economic devastation, and then me in the middle. Now, I don't know about you, but that's kind of, I'm concerned about all 3 of these things. I'm very respectful of the disease and people who have it and stay-at-home orders, but I'm also concerned about some of the overt controls that are being thrown out there that seem to be like just a way overreach, and that's why I'm going to be interviewing some attorney generals here very soon, and I'm going to ask some very straightforward questions that I have concerns about. And then also, you know, we got this economic problem. And so I'm thinking, what is the right attitude for today? And that's when I started doing a little research, and I came across Admiral James Stockdale. Now, you may remember the name. When Ross Perot ran for president, James Stockdale was his vice presidential nominee. And what's wild, his name was James Bond Stockdale. I'm not making this up. And so he was a fighter pilot. He got shot down from 1965 to 1973. He was in what was called the Hanoi Hilton. And as the highest ranking guy in the Hanoi Hilton, they were constantly trying to make an example of him. And so he would actually beat up his own face so that they couldn't use him in propaganda videos and things like that. He was tortured. They broke his legs. Terrible, terrible stuff. And they asked him, Jim Collins asked him in the Built to Last book, which is a great book. He said, how did you make it through? And he said it was all about attitude. And they go, well, okay, well, what's the right attitude? He said, I never lost faith in the end of the story. Now listen to this. I never lost faith in the end of the story. I never doubted, not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end, and I would turn the experience into the defining event of my life. When asked by Jim Collins who didn't make it out of Vietnam, he said, let me get this straight. He said it was people with false optimism. He said false optimists said, oh, everything's going to be fine, we're getting out by Christmas. And then Christmas would come and go. And then I'm getting out by Easter, and then Easter would come and go. And then, no, we're definitely getting out by Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving would come and go. And then he said, then they would die by Christmas of a broken heart. He said the other people who didn't get out were the hopeless pessimist, who became the major journalist in our country. Sorry, that was uncalled for, but I just felt like giving a little shot there. False optimism, hopeless pessimism. Both those things prevail today. Take a look around. There's people who are just sing-songy, everything's great, Pookie, no problem. And I'm an optimistic person. Then the other side is hopeless pessimism. We are going to have this thing for years. We're going to shut down the country for the next 2 years. Here's what's going to happen. Things are never going back to the same. We're going to have the next giant Great Depression, da-da-da-da-dum. False optimism, hopeless pessimism. The winning attitude, according to Admiral Stockdale, is called triumphant realism. Triumphant realism. And I dig that. And that was true in the Hanoi Hilton, and that sure as heck is true with this virus. And no offense, but unless somebody has actually passed in your family from it, you know, being locked up in a Vietnam jail, a prisoner of war camp, being tortured repeatedly for 7+ years, that's a hard draw. And he talked about triumphant realism. And that's the most important thing we have to do. He said, this is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the brutal facts of your current reality, wherever they might be. So we're going to take it on the chin. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to get it going. And I got some stuff for you we're going to get into here in a second. As you can tell, I've been home. I've been prepping for you guys, and I'm excited to give you some great content. So, we talked about NASCAR. We talked about the false start. So what happens in NASCAR? Let me walk you through this. First and foremost, we had a red flag. So the red flag comes out when there's a crash. Okay, the big old crash, and everything comes to an immediate stop. And that's why this is unusual. When we have recessions, we have depression. That's why 9/11, and that's why the study of Katrina is very, very relevant in Dr. Yoon's work, because those things came to an immediate crash. Everything stopped. We're talking NASCAR, red flag comes out, they got to pick up the wreckage, they got to clean things up. That's what people are doing right now. That's what the governments are doing right now. That's what everybody's trying to do right now. Pick up the pieces, fix the hospitals, make sure we have ventilators, make sure we got masks, make sure we got policies in place, make sure we can test people, we're cleaning up the track, okay? And then everything we're talking about and what the purpose of this is, to have that triumphant realism going forward, is we launched last week this concept called the rolling start. Now, Mr. Franz, I found this image, and I said, can you get me this? And he delivered over to me this morning. Again, look at this. There's the pace car, and there's everybody in the place getting in spot. This is you, and this is me right now. The 5-circle fit is the pace car. Many of us are ready to go. Many of us are impatient. Many of us are stir crazy. Many of us are ready to get outside. Many of us are ready to go do. Many of us are ready to go sitting down in our favorite restaurant and go to get a massage and get the hair done and get the, whatever else. But we're in the pace car. We're behind the pace car, and rev the engine. Get the engine going. We're getting ready for this flag. And this flag is going to be a staggered approach. Now remember, the pace car, you have to, bit by bit, it's a slow rolling open. Have you heard that phrase lately? A slow rolling open. That's what's coming. Then the flag's going to go down. Now it's time to get to work. And in the tease this morning on Facebook, I said there was this flag. And this is the flag that no one needs to see or wants to see, but I'm going to tell you this is going to happen. And I'm going to say to you that at least a third of the people in our real estate industry, and probably every bit as high in the marketplace, are going to see this flag. In the course of this next year, the blue and yellow flag means this. They wave this flag in front of a particular car when they're moving too slow, because you're about to be lapped by the people who are trying to win the race. This is the flag you don't want to see. This is the flag that people who don't do the rolling start, who don't do the training, who don't start talking to their customers, who don't take care of themselves physically, who don't take care of themselves emotionally, who are not doing the work, these are the people that are going to see this flag. And they're going to say, well, I just need a bigger bailout from the government. Sorry, we're out of money. Oh, I just need bigger help from this. I need this done for me. I need that. Or, hang on a second here. I need more. I need this. You need to do this. What's going on? And my broker's not doing enough for me. And my this and my that. There are people who are not going to participate when the race opens back up to the degree they need to. And the reason is they weren't ready. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. And the reason being is they're going to get ready when they're given the all clear. The all clear is now. We started 5-circle fit last week. I shared this quote with everybody. And thanks again to the team for putting this together. The great John Wooden, a guy who won 10 national championships. When opportunity knocks, it's too late to prepare. Too late. In fact, the team designed one for you this week that you could download, that actual graphic. I had it here somewhere here. Let me see. And I'll show it to you. Anyway, it's one that's more printer friendly, so it won't burn up your cartridge, okay? But when opportunity knocks, it's too late to prepare. Here's the flag we all want. This is called the end of the year. Well done. Well done. Okay, here it is. What are they going to say at the end of the year? What's your banker going to say at the end of the year? What's your production going to be at the end of the year? What's your revenue going to be at the end of the year? Man, this was the most strangest year of all time. It was the year that everything got canceled, everything got put on hold, everything changed. But at the end of the year, you can have a winning year. You could win in the 5 circles of life. You could win spiritually. Some of you had a winning week. And this is how you have a winning year. You compile the weeks together. You spiritually had a winning week. In your relationships, you had a winning week. In your health, you had a winning week. In your mindset, you had a winning week. In your training, you had a winning week. And in cultivating and developing your database and leading into your database, you had a winning week. You're preparing. The rolling start. You're not going 200 miles an hour yet, The engine, you want to rev, you're ready to go, but you're not quite ready. We got to get up to speed. And so those are the flags. Oh, there it is. Look, there it is. So this is the one you can actually download. I want you to have this, pin it up. When opportunity knocks, it's too late to prepare. Print that up from the 5-circle fit, and it won't burn up your printer, but the quote is there. Okay? So there it is. You can tell I'm kind of fired up. I had a lot of time on my hands this week to really get to some nitty-gritty here for you. So here comes week 2, boys and girls. Here it is. And so this is available now. Now, remember, this was supposed to be dropping on a Monday. I'm the one who fought with the company to make sure they did this on a Friday. So I'm just going to give you a couple of things that you need to cool your jets on, okay? So first, spiritually, we want you to download the 10 Ancient Scrolls of Success, okay, from the great Og Mandino. And it says, today I begin a new life. I will greet this day with love in my heart. I will persist until I succeed. I am nature's greatest miracle. I will live this day as if it was my last. Today I will be the master of my emotions. I will laugh at the world. Today I will multiply my value 100-fold. I will act now and I will pray for guidance. You can see this is one that I've laminated. This is from my home. This is on my mirror in my bathroom. Okay? So say this out loud to start your day every day, and that's one of your spiritual exercises this week. Remember, you can go to Headspace, you can go to prayer app, or donate or serve an organization in need. Okay? On the family side, I want you to write a personal note of appreciation to the 7 people closest to you. Anna knows, oh, that means Dad's writing me a note this week. Yes, it is, but I love you, babe. And even though you're 26 and a great woman of the world, you still never can hear enough Dad thinks you're the greatest. Business. I want you to download the book, Taking Care of Business. So we are going to give you a free copy of this book. It's, again, all the links are live. If you have a copy of the book, you received this in the past, it's Taking Care of Business, a book Joe, Nigo, and myself wrote, and it's the big idea for small business, okay? And feel free to share this link with any small business owner you have, okay? So I want you to download the book. Yes, it'll burn up some printers, but we're not in position to ship it to you anyway. So here it is, a free copy of the book. And just to prep you, so we're going to be on this book for the next 2 weeks. Still not a huge read, but for the next 2 weeks, Taking Care of Business will be our exercise. For those of you who are prep magnets, the book I do want you to order is As a Man Thinketh. In week 4 and 5 of the challenge, we'll be going through that. So that gives you some time. Amazon's a little slower than they've been. Taking Care of Business this week, download it. Order As a Man Thinketh. Okay? Next, I have financially. Prioritize your expenses around your budget. So we have a little resource for you. And this will help you take your budget to the next level. And it's A's, B's, C's. And it's A's are need to have, B is nice to have, and C's are wants to have. Print out your entire expenses. If you share your financial life with somebody, go through this exercise separately and then compare notes. Okay? Now you might need a glass of wine when you do it, but this is still a very, very helpful exercise. Many of our members you've done this before, but I want you to do it now because your finances have changed. Your budgets have changed. Time to go back and revisit this. So that's that little exercise there. And then lastly, we have a brand new Rico's Reps. So hopefully you guys had a chance to do your Rico's Reps last week. Very popular in the program. And so every week, Rico's giving you a new set of exercises. Each one builds upon the previous week, builds upon. Okay? And then we want you to listen on Tuesday to the Lawrence Yun podcast, which is airing May 5th. Let me say this again for my team at Buffini Company. This podcast is not available till Tuesday, so you can't get a head start until Tuesday. Okay? This information was supposed to be available Monday to everyone. I advocated for you to get it today on a Friday every time. Don't make me regret it. Okay? So there it is. Now again, I've been inundated with a ton of emails and things on Facebook Live and whatever else. What's the 5-circle fit? Now, great. It would be arrogance of mine to think that everybody's tuned in at the same time. So, the 5-circle fit program, spiritual, family, business, financial, personal, get fit in all 5 circles so you have a rolling start. It's a free program. Yes? Go to buffiniandcompany.com/BC bonus. buffiniandcompany.com/BC bonus, and go and download the resource. Inside the resource are all the live links, That's where you'll get Rico's reps. That's where you'll get everything. It looks like this. Click on that bad boy. Here comes week 2. If you are not yet doing our training program, which I highly recommend for your business, you can click chat with an expert, and they'll hook you up with our training program. If you're a one-to-one member and you haven't gotten this figured out yet, talk to your coach, but they can also help you on the live chat feature. We're making this available very inexpensively for people who are not members. Great chance for you to participate. So do the training, do the preparation, do the work, pick up speed. Here's the thing. The 5-Circle Fit Challenge is going to change in direct proportion to the speed and velocity of the market. I don't want you sitting around watching me all day long. I want you doing your business, being successful. And we've had, by the way, we have obviously our systems are catered for real estate agents, but we have a significant number of people who are in small businesses who are taking the training and who are giving me enormous feedback of how well it's going. So take the program, take the challenge, get on board, do it with your family, send me updates, let me know how it's going. I do have a few people have sent me some stories, and I'm going to get into that here a little bit. And I think before I do that, I'll take a few questions, Anna, so if folks are ready, I can take a few questions. Somewhere in here, I had some great stories of people who were taking the 5-Circle Fit this week, and they were having great results. I've buried it in my pile. But who do you have, Anna? What questions do you have for me?
Sonia Leonard asks, can Brian recap that dialogue about what happens when we get inflation?
Okay, so Sonia, I can give you that dialogue. It's in the podcast with Dr. Yoon. So I appreciate you paying attention. So wait till Tuesday. I go into it in depth in a 35-minute interview with Dr. Yoon. And by the way, you can take that link and you can send it to your customers so they can hear a third-party expert. Dr. Yoon is recognized one of the top 5 economists in the world, not just in real estate. And I also get him to tell a bit of his story. He's an immigrant from South Korea and came here. His father was in the military and so on and so forth. And he's his own immigrant edge story, okay? So anyhow, so I would say, owning a house, a great hedge against inflation, but it's detailed very nicely in the podcast. Let's see who else we got, Anna.
Stephanie asks, what changes do you see coming in lending?
So Stephanie, again, we've done some interviews with Dave Stevens, also did some interviews with Michael DeVito of Wells Fargo. Those are some podcasts that are sitting out there. And I know for some of you it's hard to keep up with it. I'm pumping this stuff out. It's in direct proportion to what you can digest and what you need, okay? So a couple of things here is we know that there's some tightening of some criteria. We know that there is, JP Morgan said you got to have a 700 credit score, and they're going to, 20% down. That will be short term, and that will be short lived. Now, by the way, JP Morgan's not the number 1 lender in real estate. And by the way, 700 credit score is an average score. But I think what you'll see is a tightening at the entry-level property with the lowest amounts down. Right now, they're having to do drive-by appraisals. I think if someone's going to try to put 3 or 5% down, they're going to want to get into the house to see a physical appraisal. They're going to be a little tighter. And so there's going to be short-term restrictions that are going to loosen up. It's in everybody's interest, including the banks, to fund loans right now. They need to get back to making money. And so they're getting forbearance on one end. They got people not making their payments on some other ends. And they need to get in the banking business to make loans. So I think it'll be short-term, and then it'll loosen up. Okay?
Uncle Joe Nigo popped in. He
Come
says,
on.
Love the rolling start. Great idea. I'm all in.
Nice. Shout out to you, Mr. Nigo, and thanks for all your help. I have my daily, when I go for my walk in the morning, by the way, I'm getting my circles on my watch done every day. That's the goal, right? And so I do my walks in the morning. That's when I check in with Joe Nigo. And Joe and I are working on something special for you guys. There's a few little tips to maybe help you generate some listings. Because definitely right now, if you get a listing that's well priced, it's going to sell. It's more valuable than ever before. And the housing shortage is even more than ever before. So we want to give you a few cool tips on what to do in this environment to generate a few listings. So stay tuned. Thanks for checking in, Joe.
Rob McKitchen. Brian, do you see a similar outlook for us in Canada? Canada
is very similar to the U.S. in a lot of ways, even though Canadians hate to hear that. But you go to Home Depot and there's Burger King and Kentucky Fried Chicken and Carl's Jr. up there too. Toronto, thank God, was not hit as hard as New York, but Toronto is probably going to follow a similar pattern to New York in how it reopens. Vancouver is not as congested as Toronto, but Vancouver, those two major cities are going to open up differently than will the rest of Canada. Calgary doesn't need to open up. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan does not need to open up the same way that Toronto and Vancouver will. But I would also say this, there was a housing shortage going into this. There's still high demand, and the demand is not going away. And pretty soon you're going to see people coming online here. What we're going to see is chunks of people getting back into the employment, right? 30 million people, it's not going to go back to a million. It's going to go from 30 million, maybe it goes up to 32 or 33, then it'll be 30, then 26, then 22, then 19, then 16. It's going to come in chunks. And so that's going to continue to accelerate things. Here's the thing. I just saw an article this morning published by Redfin that said that right this minute, first-time buyer homes are flying off the shelf. People have been locked up in their home. Some of the people don't like where they've been locked up. Some of the people, they stay at home and they're like, I need to get the heck out of here. Some people are like we almost downsized to a house down the street. I'm bloody glad we didn't right now. I'd be bouncing off the walls. So with all 5 of my adult kids home. Unmarried adult kids, shall we say. So anyhow, it's going to be very similar in Canada to the States, and just keep chipping away. There's opportunity. There are people in Canada that are in real estate that are going to try to I'm going to just do what the media tells me to do, and they're going to get this flag waved at them. Don't be one of those characters, okay? 5-circle fit, make your business 5-circle fit, be reaching out to people, and bit by bit, you're going to see the market. Look, here's the thing. Let me give you this. Here's my hotline of the day. Going into the coronavirus, toilet paper was the most in-demand item. Coming out of coronavirus, it'll be a place to put your toilet paper. It'll be houses. And that's the truth of the matter. And they won't be waiting on the government, and they won't be waiting on anybody. Consumers bought toilet paper before the government told them what to do, and people are going to buy houses before the government tells them what to do.
Brittany from Bozeman, Montana. I'm studying for the real estate exam. Is it too soon for me to get the essentials course, or should I wait until after I'm licensed?
I'm sorry, say that again, Anna. I missed that.
I'm studying for the real estate exam.
Oh, awesome. What's her name?
Brittany.
Brittany.
Is it too soon for me to get the essentials course, or should I wait until after I'm licensed?
Well, hopefully you get your license pretty soon. The essentials course is all about building your database, connecting with people, and building relationships. And so we have people do this all the time. And so you're going to do the real rolling start. And so when your license comes down, bang, you're going to be sending out your introduction letter, ready to go, I'm open for business. Well, the way real estate works, Brittany, is you've got to kind of cultivate people ahead of time. And you can let people know, 60 days from now, I'm launching my career. Just so you know, when we come out of this virus, I'm going to be ready. Just so you know, tell your friends, I'm getting excited. I'll be sharing information with you. I'll be providing something of value. And in the meantime, you'll be getting the best training that exists on how to practice fundamental real estate. And by the way, Mastery is the name of the program. It's the pathway to mastery. And the only way you can be a master is you have to master the fundamentals. So many people, they go, I'm waiting for the advanced course. And they've been shocked. They've been shocked. People who've been in our coaching program for years, shocked in taking the essentials course. They go, I wanted the advanced course. Now I realize I needed the essentials course because I don't have this stuff down yet. So welcome to the business. I think this is a great time to be getting into real estate. And we're going to train you up and you're going to do great. We're going to get you to that little checkered flag here.
From Maggie, what do we say to investor clients who are being asked by their tenants to skip a couple months' rent?
Yeah, well, there's a number of issues out there, and you can start checking and encouraging them to check there's a number of rental associations that are dealing with forbearance. And some people are dealing with tenants that can't pay, and some people are dealing with tenants that won't pay. And there is a difference, okay? So I would encourage you to tell them to go to their local landlord association and then check in on how they're dealing with rental forbearance and how to deal with it. And there's can't and won't and all this kind of stuff. Now, there's also issues around people's credit and what's going to be affected and what's not. And it's going to be a little messy here for about 60 days. But I'd encourage them to check in, and I would also encourage them to do this. I talked to Joe about this morning because Joe owns a lot of units in Chicago. He spends a lot of his time talking to other landlords in Chicago, and they're connected. And so that's a very important thing. Get them connected to other people. So if you have people in your database that own rental properties, you're saying, I want to get you guys connected. Here's the association you need to talk to, and I want to get you guys connected, and so you guys can talk together. Okay? Be the person who brings them all together.
From Yolanda, do you think this is a good time to refinance?
It's a great time to refinance, obviously. I think I saw this morning 3.49% on a fixed rate mortgage. That's pretty good money. That's pretty good money and a great way to save. Like I said, my oldest son, his wife's getting ready to have a baby, they just refinanced, and I think they saved $320 a month on their payments every month. A pretty nice savings.
From Peggy, what does an agent do with no leads or clients now, being new to real estate?
Okay, so you definitely need to get the training program. We'll get you going. We'll get your database. We need to get you communicating. We're going to get you to 100 people in your database. Get you to 100 people in your database where you're sending them an item of value, you're checking in on a phone call, you're writing them notes, and you're doing pop-bys, which you'll be able to do here very soon. 30 people in your database, 100 people in your database is the first goal. Then what we want to do is get it to the point where that 100 people will turn into no less than 30 transactions a year. Okay? And so the average new agent in real estate, and this is one of the reasons why Dr. Yoon and the National Association of Realtors have been big fans of Buffini and Company, is because the National Association of Realtors, if you're new to the business, the average income is $9,200 for someone in the business less than 2 years. And at Buffini and Company, it's a little over $100,000. So we can help you there. Okay? You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'll take one more, Anna.
From Jeff, what are your feelings on how events at hand will impact residential? Will it be the beneficiary of shrinking commercial space with more at-home time offices? Mm-hmm. With the virus environment, do you think we will start to see people exit metro areas for more spatial suburban areas?
All right, now that was he sneaked that up on you, Anna, because he got 3 questions in one. So I'll do my best in a couple of minutes to share with you. What do I think? We already know. We already know. We already are seeing the data. People in places that had high concentrations of folks, high expense ratios, and very expensive living conditions. You know, one of the reasons they'll put up with that, like say downtown New York City and whatever else, is because the buzz. Now, for right now, the buzz is gone. For right now, you're like, I don't want to be in this area, some people. So what we're already seeing, I just saw a story last night of a lady who lived in a high-rise in New York City who moved to Tennessee and is doing her work from Tennessee. And she did this temporarily because she had a young kid. And now she's like, I ain't going back. And oh, by the way, there's no state income tax down here. We're going to see more of that. We're going to see more of that. And you're going to see, now again, things swing in pendulums, but I believe what was already started. New York already had a pretty big budget deficit. New York was already losing a lot of people to other states. High taxes, not great weather, high expense. Now, by the way, people who love New York love New York. Great. And it's one of the most amazing places in the world. But there's other people going, I was thinking about this, now I'm going. You're going to see this in a number of the states. And a number of these states that handle this reopening poorly are going to make other folks who feel entrapped or feel like they're not being, their rights are being infringed upon. It's more exposing the philosophy that runs each and every individual state. I'm telling you, people are going to move as a result of this. No question about it. And so I would say, number one, you're going to see a higher increase in the amount of interstate transfers. That's why, for all of you members, make sure all your information is updated on the Buffini Referral Network. Okay? Our goal is to get you a number of referrals this year, because these referrals either to give or to receive. So make sure you're with the Buffini Referral Network. Get that connected. Here's the next thing. Are more and more people looking at commercial real estate as a way to say, there's going to be more work from home? There will. Now, right now, everybody's working from home. There will be a settling of this, but I think you're going to start to see modification. In some regards, I've had more productive days doing Zoom meetings than I have meetings inside my own office. Now there are other meetings that are not nearly as productive. And so that's going to be how it works, okay? So there's times it's absolutely going to be beneficial to do Zoom meetings, and I actually can see myself when everyone's back at Buffini Company having Zoom meetings where everybody's still in the building. That can be more effective. So I do think some commercial real estate is going to go through some challenges. There's going to be some retail right sizing that are going to bring some strip malls and things like that. So there's going to be some challenges there. And we are going to see flight from some of the more highly condensed areas, and because of Zoom and because of Skype and because of Microsoft Teams and some of the other platforms, Facebook Live, people are going to continue to do some things. Okay, I know I had a ton of content for you this morning, but I was jacked up and fired up. It's week 2 of the 5-Circle Fit, so make sure, like I mentioned, if you're not part of it, go to buffiniandcompany.com/BC bonus. If you're not part of our membership program, go and talk to one of our staff. Click the button that says talk to an expert. Our staff are designed to do consultations where they can match you up with what you should do, and here's where you should start based on your situation. We're in business a long, long time. We intend to be in business a long, long time. So we can kind of customize this for you based on where you're at. If you're a brand new baby agent, if you have a brokerage, or if you're trying to restart your career, we can help you in a lot of different ways. So what I do want you to do is, though, send me your stories, and I got some already that I didn't get a chance to read out, but I love hearing from you guys all over about how you're doing with the 5-Circle Fit. If you have pictures, send me pictures of maybe you and your family doing the workouts at Rico. Let me know any results. Let me know any transactions that are happening. Let's get some good news out. And this next week, we're going to be doing the 10 ancient scrolls of success, and we're going to be, today I begin a new life and feeling positive and connecting. We want to make sure when the green flag goes down, you don't see this flag. We get to the checkered flag. And I got one last little thing for you. Here it is right here. Okay? Look at this little darling. Angela Friedman. Angela Friedman was her mom was an Italian immigrant to New York City. Mom dies the day Angela's born. Her family got Spanish flu. She had to survive Spanish flu. She went through World War II, Korea, Vietnam. And 102 years of age, this little New Yorker, she got COVID-19. And she recovered. And she's spry, and she's doing her best. And she says, you know what? I've beaten tougher things than this before. I beat this one, no problem. She goes, I still love New York, and I still love America, and it's still the greatest country in the world, and I'm still excited for what comes next. So if little Angela at 102 can feel that way, we all can feel this way. Come join me on the 5-Circle Fit. Do it with your whole mind and your whole heart. Work on the spiritual, the family, the business, financial and personal, and let's make sure that by the end of this year right here, we're waving the flag. It's a checkered flag because we're a winner in all areas of our life. I hope you enjoyed today. I enjoyed being with you. God bless. We'll catch you soon.